All right, today on the Horsemen Pro Football Talk podcast, the other shoe or shoes are dropping in Vegas. Daniel Jones looks like a college freshman their first week of campus, and Cleveland actually helps the Chargers score a touchdown. All this and more on the Horsemen Pro Football Talk podcast. All right, here we go. Welcome back to another edition of the Horsemen Pro Football Talk podcast. This is week 6 of the 2021 NFL season. I'm Brad.
This is Zach.
And I'm Hefe.
All right, listen up. I'm changing what I'm saying. Listen to me. We want to invite you to join our Patreon community and show some support for what we're doing. And there you can find all of our stuff. We've got individual game analysis, Fantasy Central, weekly pick'em contests, the whole shebang. Just go to www.horsemansports.com right now and join us there. And we certainly appreciate your support. And if you're watching this on YouTube, before you go, please hit the subscribe button and the bell icon so you never miss any content. You can also find us on Facebook and Twitter at Horsemen Sports. Oh, and did we mention that you can catch both shows, the weekly breakdown of Fantasy Central with Zach and Hefe on WUBI Ubiquity Radio on Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time and 2 p.m. Mountain Standard Time. Okay, so you know what I want to do? I want to start with the weekly Pigskin Pick'em leaders. Anybody know who that is? Anybody look?
Yeah, I was looking last night. I'm pretty sure you were at the top, right? You had
Me?
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Oh, wow, what a coincidence. I had no idea. Well, now I'm embarrassed. I don't want to talk about myself leading the Pick'em.
Whoa, no. Time out now. It looks like a 4-way tie this week. Week 5, right?
Yeah, I thought it was 3. I thought it was you and I and somebody else.
Well, there's a guy way at the bottom who's just playing here and there who had 120 points this week as well.
Yeah, we need to know who ESPN
11633-426.
I don't know who that is. Somebody needs to step up. They're tied with us. Who's the other one?
It's me, you, ESPN, and Willie on the west side.
Willie on the west side. It'd be interesting to see who everybody picks tonight.
I got screwed though because the Bengals should have won that game. Mason Crosby missed 4 kicks in that game.
Yeah, but the other argument is the Packers should have won the game because
fair.
But we're going to get into this, but I'm starting to believe in the Bengals. I mean, I don't have any dreams of grandeur. They're going to make a Super Bowl run or anything, but something appears to be going right in Cincinnati, or headed in the right direction. Let's go that. But we'll talk about that in a second. Let's go ahead and get into the games. The Bucs at the Eagles are on Thursday night. Eagles picked up another win yesterday, making the NFC race fierce. But no, they did get a win. It was a big win over Carolina. I mean, a big upset. I think everyone but Eagles fans probably missed that pick yesterday. But this isn't it isn't the Bucs, and the Bucs embarrassed. They walked all over the Dolphins yesterday. We already talked about this. We're going to talk about it more. The Dolphins are in trouble. But Tom T.G. Brady.
What's that stand for, Hefe?
We got to talk about it.
Bro, he's like 70 years old, and he was 30 for 41, over 400 yards and 5 touchdowns. He just dismantled it. I'm a Dolphins fan, and damn. And the Dolphins, I don't know. Is their defense better than the Eagles? I mean, I know that.
No, not this year. I don't think.
Yeah.
I have the stats. I could pull up the stats. So if you guys want to keep talking, I'll pull those up.
Okay. I Hefe, while Zach's looking that up, you can go. I don't see any way there's an upset here. I think the Bucks are going to get an easy win.
See, this is one that I actually think the matchup in this game will make this game closer than I think other people will think. Like, I don't think it's a guaranteed Buccaneers win, because the Buccaneers don't really have much of a run game. But you asked if is the Dolphins defense better than the Eagles. I think the Eagles defense is much better than the Dolphins this year for whatever reason, and especially their secondary, led by Darius Slay. Big play Slay. He made a couple big plays for the Eagles in this last game, an interception. He had a really big game, and so I think it's an interesting matchup. But there's no way you can go against the Buccaneers in that offense in the NFL, present day NFL. An elite offense that executes well and doesn't commit penalties is going to beat pretty much any defense. So it's hard to go against the Buccaneers here. I think it'll be a close game, especially on a short week. I think it'll be a fairly close game, but there's no way the Buccaneers lose, in my opinion.
Yeah. So to go back to which defense is better, Miami right now, in regards to their rushing defense, is ranked about 24th, whereas Philadelphia is ranked 30th. So Miami is better when it comes to rushing. However, in the passing game, Miami's ranked 27th, whereas Philadelphia is in the top 3. They're actually number 3 right now on my
Okay.
rankings.
I was going to ask if those rankings were before yesterday or after yesterday.
Yeah, they're after. Yeah, I updated that today.
It doesn't matter. I mean, because Tom Brady put on a clinic yesterday in Tampa but obviously the disparity between 3 and 20 something is not just indicative of what's happened yesterday. Obviously, there's a pattern there.
Yeah, so I mean, it's going to be a good matchup with Tom Brady because the Bucks are super pass heavy, right? So it'll be a good matchup. I just don't think Philadelphia is going to be able to compete with the numbers that the Bucks put up. So I'm taking the Buccaneers in this game, but I think it's going to be more competitive than what we think. The Philadelphia Eagles, I don't know how to feel about them, but they've been grinding their football games. They've only won 2 out of the 3, but I'm pretty sure they were competitive.
Yeah.
They were competitive against the 49ers. They put up 30 against KC, even though KC's defense is pretty trash. But the Eagles they've been playing pretty well. They're surprisingly a lot better than I think that everybody's giving them credit for.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
And when another matchup to watch, I mentioned how the Bucks don't have much of a rushing game, but so both these teams like to pass. The Eagles don't have much of a rushing game either, but we know that the Buccaneers secondary is very banged up. They're losing Levante David, one of the better linebackers in the NFL. He's out for 3 to 4 weeks. So that defense continues to get injured. So like Zach was saying, there's plenty of reason for this game to stay pretty competitive, I feel like.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. But I will say that Tampa Bay has the best rushing defense, but the worst passing defense. So if Jalen Hurts can move the ball, hey, they might stick around in this one.
Yeah. Well, and we know a lot of that is because they've just been decimated with injuries. They're hiring, janitors to come back and play the defensive backfield. They're like, "Oh, you used to play college football back in the '80s? Cool. Can you play now?" But I don't know that Hurts has what it takes to either way. The Bucks, 3 of us are taking the Bucks, right?
Yeah, it's definitely. I wouldn't say 100%, but Buccaneers.
Yeah, I'd agree. So speaking of the Dolphins, the Bucks and the Dolphins, moving to the next game is the Dolphins and the Jags. The Dolphins are in a lot of trouble, and this game scares me. This is the kind of game that the Jags have nothing to lose. And there's so much weird shit going on down there right now. What is up with Duvall, man? It's just a damn weird circus down there. I guess you guys. I don't want to beat this horse to death, but I guess you heard the did you hear the whole story with Urban Meyer thing about that he opted out of the team flight back to Jacksonville and decided to quote go home, and then he ended up at the bar with that girl that was just being friendly until the other video showed up where he was, helping her hold her pants up from the bottom or whatever he was doing.
I'm glad we addressed that.
And then Monday he canceled the team meeting and then tried to divide and conquer and pull people into their smaller position meetings. That's a manipulation tactic to try to not the divide and conquer, not get everybody in the same room where there's so much backlash. He can try to manipulate the situation. I guess the apologies were half-assed. Guys were laughing at him. I can't believe this guy's still employed here. I don't know. I fully expected him to be fired today on Monday. Day's not over yet, but I would have thought that would have come early. I just don't know how. I don't care how good of a coach the guy may be. He's lost the respect of his locker room, and I don't know that he'll get that back. If they had changed things and were already winning, or he had a year under his belt, things were already headed in a different direction. We're having a different conversation because they've seen what he can do. But right now they're losing. There's no promise of the future. They don't know which way this is going to go yet. Guys have a problem investing in the losing situation, and he's lost the respect. I don't know how this fixes itself, and I don't know what management's waiting on. But I fully expect him to be gone. Like I said, I thought today. Anyway, this game scares me. I mean, Brissett has some nice stats, but he's not spectacular. He's safe. He's a safe quarterback. And what a guy like that needs is a dominant defense. If Brissett had a strong running game and a dominant defense, he's a Super Bowl quarterback. Until that happens, not going to happen. It's certainly not happening here. Which, by the way, the rumor is again that the Dolphins have re-engaged with the Texans in discussions for Watson. Because the closing deadline of November 2nd. It's November 2nd. Is that right? The trade deadline?
Sounds about right. Somewhere around there.
So we'll see what happens with that. And Aunt Shelka's why? Because Tua isn't the answer. But anyway, Dolphins gave up 5 TDs yesterday. Jags are at home. I'm still taking the Dolphins because on paper, everything looks like the Dolphins should win. But I got a bad feeling, and I would not be surprised if this is the upset of the week.
Yeah, I feel the same exact way as you do. I thought about taking the Jaguars, to be honest with you, but I have more confidence in the Dolphins and what I believe they're capable of doing. But like you said, Tua is not the answer there. Jacoby's doing what he can do, but this defense isn't helping him out. And on the flip side, the Jaguars are a dumpster fire that just seems to be – the fire seems to be getting bigger and bigger every single week, especially with this Urban Meyer thing happening. So, yeah, I'm also going to go with the Dolphins, but I would not be surprised if the Jaguars slip in there and get their first win on the year.
Yeah, and, this game I think is going to come down to the fact that look, I think players, no matter what's happening in Jacksonville, the players in the NFL, they can't put bad tape out there, right? They still have to go out there and do their job because, if everything changes and there's roster turnover at the end of the year, people get let go, they have bad tape out there that's going to deter them from getting other jobs, right? So I think that, it kind of just feels like it's time almost for Trevor Lawrence to get his first win, and I think this is the game that it happens. Trevor Lawrence has been continuously getting better. He played pretty well this past week, 273 yards, 1 touchdown and an interception, just under 70% completion. It was a pretty good week for him, and Jacksonville, I think, is going to dominate on the ground. They've been letting James Robinson get the huge workload like he was getting last year. And I think it makes a difference for the offense. I don't trust either of those defenses, but from what we've seen with the Dolphins the last couple of weeks, and again, it might be recency bias because of what just happened to him. But I mean, there's just no faith that the Dolphins are putting it together right now. I think Tua, his third, this week 5 was his third week on IR, right? So I think he'd be eligible to come back. There's no telling so far if he's going to be back or not. I don't even think that would matter. I think it's time for the Jags to get their first win.
All right. So I think we both agree with you. It could be time the Jags get their first win, but two of us are playing it safe. Are you making a statement here, Hefe?
Yep, I do have the Jags picked on my pick'em.
All right. Big bragging rights at stake. You can come back next week and just lay it all out there if you're right on this one.
Yes, sir.
Zach and I are taking the Dolphins out of fear and common sense, and Hefe is going on his gut instinct and taking the Jags. All right. Packers at the Bears. I saw a meme before the game was even over with the Bengals yesterday that said that Mason Crosby had changed his name to Missing Crosby.
Oh, that's not fair. Up until yesterday, he had only missed like 2 field goals in 2 years or something like that.
Yeah, and he hit like 26 or 27 straight.
Yeah.
That stint of missed field goals yesterday, after the 2:04 mark in the fourth quarter, there were 5 missed field goals after that point, and it actually broke a record of 4 missed field goals in the last 3 minutes of regulation set in 1991. That was it was one of the craziest things I'd ever seen, and I hadn't been watching the game. I just turned it on. I literally had turned it on, and it was like 20 seconds later he missed the first field goal, and that's in the whole. I caught the best part of the whole game. Absolute craziness. And there's so much involved. We don't know if it was Crosby. We don't know if it was a holder. Maybe both. I don't know. It's likely that the last miss was probably Mason had gotten his own head, trying too hard. There's so much involved. But and when Crosby went out for the coin toss for the overtime after missing the 2 potential game winners in the last 2 minutes of regulation, I thought, damn, somebody said that. I'm not going out there for the coin toss. Send that kicker out there, make him do it. I'm not going. I can't imagine what Rodgers had to say. He said that he was all supportive, but he had a weird look on his face when he said that. But it was all good. Crosby got the chance to win, and I'm glad he did. I know, Hefe, you started this with the Bengals should have won, but you got a kicker like that that's missing field goals. It never misses. You expect one of them to go in. So I kind of thought the Packers would, but anyway, let's talk about the Packers and the Bears. No, I don't care if they're in Soldier Field or not. I don't care if the Packers have had to struggle to get a couple wins. Packers win on Sunday.
Yeah. So with Crosby and what's the kid's name in Cincinnati? The kicker. McPherson. That's what it is. So I'm not trying to make any excuses for them. They're professional kickers. They should be able to get the job done no matter what. However, I am looking up what the wind speed was around that time yesterday, and it was about 10 to 12 miles an hour. So I don't care who you are, 10 to 12 mile an hour wind's going to affect how you kick a ball. So not making excuses for the gentleman, but that could be why I know that the broadcast and everybody else hasn't really talked about what the weather conditions were around that time. But yeah, 10 to 12 miles an hour, that may have had something to do with the 5 missed field goals in the last 2 minutes of the fourth quarter and in overtime.
Absolutely. And everybody's allowed to have a bad day.
Yeah.
It happens.
So. Yeah, exactly. There's been times Peyton Manning threw 4 or 5 interceptions in a game. Like it happens. Yeah. So
Tom Brady hasn't, but messing with you, I think.
So in regards to this upcoming game, the Bears kind of surprised me beating the Raiders, which I'm sure we'll talk about the Raiders here in a little bit. But Everybody's talking about how Justin Fields is the next great guy, but to me, he hasn't really shown anything, including in this game against the Raiders over the weekend. He was only 12 for 20, 111 yards, 1 touchdown, 0 interceptions. Not a very big statistical game at all. So I'm not real big on Justin Fields just yet. I think he will be the answer in Chicago. He just has a lot of development. But when it comes to the Packers, I think it being such a close game with the Bengals was kind of a fluke. They were pretty much dominating, I would say. I know it was close at halftime and stayed close through the rest of the game, but the Packers looked pretty good. They were firing on all cylinders. Joe Burrow is just a monster, man. Him and Jamar Chase, that's unreal combination. So it doesn't surprise me that the Bengals were in that game. And like we talked about, Jeff, didn't you take the Bengals?
I did take the Bengals, yep.
That's what I thought, yeah. So like we all talked about, the Bengals could have won that game. Regardless, Packers ended up finding a way to win, which is what's most important. I don't think being a divisional game that the Bears are going to be able to beat the Packers. So I'm going Green Bay all day. You know how I do it. Packers #1. Go, Pack, go.
So before I get into this game, I would like to say that Tom Brady has 6 times in his career thrown for 4 interceptions in a game.
6 times?
6 times.
Oh, wow.
But, I just like you guys, I just don't see a way that this Bears team can beat the Packers, right? Like the Packers have Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams. And while I don't trust the Packers defense, if they were able to hold the Bengals to 22 points, which did impress me. I thought the Bengals would be able to put up 31 plus on them. So whatever they're doing, I know this kid, Eric Stokes, they drafted at corner. That's going to work out well for him while Jair Alexander is out. It's luckily Jair isn't out for the entire season. He'll probably be back later in the year, but it's just, I don't really trust the Packers. If it was a better opponent, maybe I don't pick the Packers here, but they should steamroll the Bears.
Right. We all three agree that the Packers will win the big NFC North matchup against the Bears in Soldier Field this week. So the continuation about the Bengals, as I said, I'm starting to be a believer. Joe Burrow's, and I'd be lying if I thought that the Lions could win this. See what I did there?
You'd be lying.
I'd be lying. Look, Burrow believes, man. He's a tough competitor, and he thought he was going to win yesterday. And that when you got a guy that's got talent and he believes that, he makes other people believe, and good things happen. They're 3-2, and they're real close to being 4-1. The Lions are just bad, actually. I don't know. So did you guys see Mad Dan's interview?
I did not, but I've heard about it. I wish I had time to watch it before we came on the air. So
I've made fun of the guy, right? We've laughed about biting kneecaps and all that bullshit, but what I saw yesterday, and this doesn't translate into being a good coach at all. But what I saw yesterday was genuine emotion because they were so close to winning twice. And he wants that first win. And as long as I've coached, I understand when you get to the point where you just want your people to put in such hard work that you just need something to reward them with. You need that first win. And I've coached some teams where we've struggled with that. And it was absolutely genuine, and that's the passion he's bringing to the field. And I don't know if he's going to last in Detroit. I don't know if he can get some personnel, make some changes, and gradually build this team up. But after yesterday, I'm kind of rooting for him. I want him to figure the game out. I want him to get the talent in there and turn that passion in, because certainly passion is the fire that makes an excellent coach. And we've seen that with some really good coaches in the past. So I just wanted to say that that he kind of won me over yesterday. I mean, dude, in the game like the NFL, to get on national TV and cry like that, one, told me it was sincere, and two, it told me he didn't give rat's ass what anybody thought. So I was impressed. I also want to mention that the Lions are the first to live. I'm sorry, the first to lose on a game-winning field goal of 50-plus yards with no time left on the clock twice in a single season ever.
Interesting.
Both scores were 19-17. So that's the other thing. I don't think the Lions are ready to compete for anything, but they're real close to having 2 wins. But they're not going to do it against the Bengals. The Lions dropped 0-5.
Yeah, I feel the same way pretty much with everything. I'm really pulling for the Lions. I do like Dan Campbell. I like his energy, his attitude. He's in there getting fired up, and I think he'll start to get this team to believe in themselves, which will pay dividends as the season progresses. So yeah, it was heartbreaking to see them lose. I haven't seen the interview, but I did hear about it today on the Pat McAfee show. They were talking about it, but yeah, they don't have much of a chance against this Bengal team, in my opinion. The Bengals are looking good. I think they're better than what their 3-2 records say, and 3-2 at this point in the season, during this season, is a pretty good record to have. So like I said earlier, the Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase combination's unreal. Jamar Chase had 6 receptions, 159 yards, and a touchdown. Joe Burrow was 26 for 38, 281, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. But they're looking great. Joe Mixon, he's going to get healthier as this week goes on, so he'll get back into the fold. I don't see the Lions being able to beat the Bengals.
This is one that I thought, maybe this is upset alert, because the Lions in most of their games this season have been competitive for most of the game. And a couple of them have come down to the wire, obviously, like Brad was talking about, last second losses there. But I mean, the Bengals they look so good, right? And they've played some tough teams, and they've played tough. Their defense, I mean, I've said it. I feel like I've said it the last 2 or 3 weeks. I mean, their defense just continues to get better. There was a time in the game yesterday when one of their starting corners, I can't remember how to pronounce his name. It was a little complicated. Wouzier, I think, is how it was said. He's really good. Hopefully their secondary can stay healthy. They brought in Hendrickson. There was a lot of questions about him, and he had 2 sacks yesterday. He looks really good for them. So it's just hard to pick against the Bengals when they're going up against an 0-5 team. But like Brad was saying, I do think Dan Campbell is close. If they can get, have a good offseason and bring in the right guys, fix that defense a little bit, get some wide receivers in there for Jared Goff to throw to. This team is probably, 2 years away from being a really, really good football team, as long as they, like I said, they bring in the right guys. And I think Dan Campbell and his coaching staff I don't know if people know, but his coaching staff is comprised of a bunch of really good ex-football players, guys that had a lot of success in the NFL. So I think, if you can get good young talent in there to learn from those guys, I think this can be a really good football team. But like I said, that's a couple years away. When we're talking about Week 6, 2021, I have them losing to the Bengals.
Yeah, so we're all picking the Bengals. And I'd like to point out about the ex-players. A lot of ex-players become coaches, but good players don't always translate into a good coach. Isaiah Thomas. That's a drop the mic right there. Guy destroys everything he puts his hands on.
What about Larry Legend?
Oh. I think you're going to make me say this, aren't you? I think Larry was brought in to push a team over the top, and he's not your X's and O's. Not that he doesn't understand basketball. He'll understand basketball way better than he'll probably understood it by 20 better than I'll ever understand it. But my point is that I don't think he's your typical X's and X's and O's coach. I think he was just brought in to motivate, put a team up, brought his championship swagger in, and I think he realized that, and that's why he moved to the front office, and he wasn't the clipboard guy.
Yeah, fair enough.
He sucked in the front office too.
Was it? No, it was Donnie Walsh that had the team.
Yeah,
the Malice in the Palace that year. All right, yeah. Let's get back to football.
All right, and we'll get back to football, but we'll stay in Indianapolis. So Texans at the Colts. As we're recording this, the Colts have yet to play Baltimore on Monday Night Football. I'm really hoping for a competitive game tonight, and I picked the Ravens. So hopefully I'm wrong.
Hefe picked the Colts, didn't he?
Yes, I did.
Okay,
yeah. Low scoring game.
Colts have some issues. I'm curious to see. I believe in Reich, so I'm curious to. I mean, because I believe in Reich, I'm curious to see how they're going to fix them, with the faith that they are going to fix them. But this is just the Texans, and they're just not good. It's in Indy. I'm taking the Colts. I can't pick against them 2 weeks in a row. But what happens if the Texans beat the Colts? We'll talk about that in a minute.
I mean, the Texans had a pretty decent game against the New England Patriots, and this Davis Mills guy, wow, he came out of nowhere. Hey, 21-29, 312 yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 picks. What's up with that? But I will say he could have thrown the ball more to Brandon Cooks. He only had 3 receptions, 23 yards, 0 touchdowns. I have him on my fantasy team, so didn't really do much for me there. But yeah, so I think I don't know. Davis Mills having a really good game against the Patriots defense that pretty much shut down Tom Brady the week before is just kind of head scratching to me. I don't see that happening again against the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts are definitely the better team if we can get our offensive stuff going. I know that's an issue we've discussed previously, but defensively, the Colts have right now the 17th best rush defense and the 9th best passing defense. So I think they'll do enough to stop the pretty weak Texans rushing game and shut down Davis Mills and not let him have a performance that he had against the Patriots. So I'm taking the Indianapolis Colts.
Now, this is a game that, I hope Davis Mills is a starter of this game, but I'm pretty sure Tyrod Taylor is coming off the IR or eligible to come off the IR this week. He would make me a little more nervous, because it's just the mobile quarterbacks will always make you more nervous. And I think Tyrod Taylor is a pretty good quarterback. He's no slump. There's a reason he keeps getting starting jobs in different places. But, it's the Texans, everything for the Texans is messed up. We all know the situation with them. They don't have the personnel. When you match these teams up, I think the Colts right now would win 10 times out of 10. So I'm taking the Colts.
You think they put Tyrod Taylor in over Davis Mills with the game Davis Mills just had?
Yeah, I do. Yeah, because Tyrod brings that extra element. Is something more that they can do on offense. Those mobile quarterbacks are that's the new wave when you can add in, the RPO game with the mobile quarterback and have that fourth option of the quarterback taking the ball. I mean, it's a different element in the offense, and I think with the playmakers the Texans have on offense, they're just more dynamic with Tyrod Taylor in there.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, so let me go back to my question that I popped too early. What if the Texans do beat the Colts?
Panic time?
Yeah, then the Colts season's done, yeah, at that point.
That's really scary as a Colts fan with the way things have gone, with the way things we've expected them to go. I think losing to the Texans would be the nail in the coffin for the season. I think it'd be the end. And I don't know that at that point, from a morale standpoint, I don't know that Wright could dig himself out from that. And I hate to be over dramatic because I don't know what his relationship with his players, and there's a lot of factors in this whole thing. But I just think losing this game would be really, really bad in the long run. So let's hope they don't.
Yeah, I mean, assuming that say the Colts lose to the Ravens, that'll put them at 1-4, and then they lose that, they'll be 1-5. You'd be 2 games behind the Titans, 2.5 really. So yeah, I mean it's possible they could climb out of it, but it'd be very tough.
Yeah. I think I think they've got a tough road already if they're believing, but I think if they lose to a team like the Texans and the morale, anyway, let's not manifest that, right?
That's right.
All right, the Rams at the Giants is the next game up, and hoping the best for Daniel Jones. I was watching it live and cringed when the helmet-to-helmet hit happened. And I was actually talking to some people, and everybody was happy. Play's over, right? So everybody's talking. Nobody's really paying attention. And I noticed Jones stand up and do this weird. You've probably seen the clip by now. Do that weird 3-step run, and then his legs give out from underneath him. And I was like, oh no, man, I have seen way too many concussions in my life to not know exactly what that was. It reminds me of when you went into the wrong huddle in high school, Zach, after you got your bell rung. So,
whoa! I didn't get my bell rung. I rang my own bell by ringing the other dude's bell. Let's get that right.
Point taken. And then came up to the line. No one recognized what happened. He went to the wrong huddle. And we were like, what's he doing? In all fairness, this is before concussions were like a thing that everybody was aware of.
Yeah.
We were like, what in the hell is he doing? He went back in his own huddle. You came up to the line and squatted down like a third grader who'd never been in a 3-point stance before. And I was like, what in the hell? And then a kid half your size just tipped you over like he was cow tipping, and you just went over. And I was like, oh, something is really, really, really wrong here. But it's all right because you got over the concussion at halftime and came back out and played the second half.
That's right. Snapped right out of it.
Man, that telling that story, reliving that story makes me happy that concussion protocol has become what it has. You had no business going back into that game. Anyway, so I don't know, I don't know how that translates for Jones. It just looked really bad when you see a strong grown man like that stumble and have that kind of weakness. But I don't know how that translates to the severity of his concussion. We know he's going to be out a couple games. I'm certainly hoping the best. Guy's got too much talent, and it's too early in his career for him to be, looking at anything major. So hopefully he'll come back. And the Giants lost Barkley. Freak accident. His ankle bent at a 90-degree angle.
The pictures of his ankle?
No.
It's
like
I don't even know how to describe what his ankle looked like.
Like what it looks like with the sock off?
Yeah.
I'll look it up. Hang on.
It is, and when I'm editing this, I'll put the picture up so the people watching can see also. I mean, when you talk about swelling, it doesn't look like an ankle anymore. Like it's fat and crazy. And they're talking about, Saquon, the x-rays were negative. He might be able to play, not this upcoming week, but the week after. And, I saw the picture and it was like, I don't know, like he's on my fantasy team. So I'd love to have him back after 1 week, but that ankle looks pretty nasty.
Hey, that's why I pass on Saquon. Just saying.
So I have actually had I've had an ankle sprain that looks like this before. And I was out 6 weeks when I played high school basketball.
Is it a high ankle sprain or is it low?
Low ankle sprain.
Yeah, that's better than
that's
high.
Pretty nasty.
Ugh. Sorry to cut you off. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. I just obviously I didn't have. First of all, we didn't have the science, and there's no way I had any of the medical resources this guy has, and nor was my body anywhere near as strong as this dude's is right now. So anyway, he's going to be out for a little while. They're already struggling, and it's too bad Jason Garrett didn't go on the IR. That might increase their chances to win.
No kidding.
So, on the road or not, the Rams are going to roll on this one.
Yeah, I don't really have a whole lot to add. It's 98% is taking the Rams, 2% for some reason is taking the Giants, but Giants are going to be without Daniel Jones, Saquon Barkley, and I believe Kenny Galladay as well. Plus, don't they have like 2 or 3 other receivers sitting out as well, Hefe?
Yeah, Sterling Shepard and Darius Slayton are battling hamstring injuries right now, so they're going to be questionable, probably game time decision kind of guys this week, but probably won't even matter, honestly.
Yeah, there's no way they're going to be able to beat the Rams, so Rams all day.
Yeah, I'm with you guys. Not really much to add or talk about with this one. Mike, Skycam, Glennon is, bounced around the league as a backup because he's not a winner. So Rams win this one easily. Probably resting their starters in the fourth quarter.
Yep. All right. We are all three taking the Rams and whatever points, and you should too. So, all right, next game is Chiefs at Washington football team. I'm still trying to figure out Washington. I can't figure out what's going on. And, they're 2-3. They lost to the Saints. I thought they'd beat the Saints. I guess I can't figure out the Saints either, but I can't figure out the Chiefs either.
The Chiefs' defense just completely awful. That's the problem in Kansas City.
Yeah, well, and they got their ass whipped last night. I mean, they. I like this. I liked it that I saw Josh Allen downplayed the victory. The NFL media is trying to make it a bigger deal than it was, a revenge game and this and that. I like the leadership of just, hey, it's another game. We got a game next week. Let's keep moving forward. Because by all rights, I mean they put on a clinic. But the Chiefs are coming into Washington. Washington's capable of upsetting nearly anybody, not everybody, but they're definitely capable of winning this game, especially at home. I just don't know that I can bet against the Chiefs. I still think I don't want to be tarnished. I don't want my image of the Chiefs to be tarnished just because they've lost more games than I expected. I think they're still a much better team. I'm going to quit rambling. I'm going to take the Chiefs.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think if Taylor Heineke has a good game, he had a pretty bad game last week, and if he has a good game and the Washington defense can step up, they have a chance to win just because the Chiefs' defense is that bad. But offensively, the Chiefs are going to be able to put up quite a bit of points against the Washington – I almost said it, the R word. The Washington football team. Compared to the Buffalo Bills right now they have, statistically speaking, the best defense on rushing and defense. So they'll be able to put up the points. I don't think Washington's going to be able to compete. So I think the Chiefs bounce back and they'll move to 3-3.
Last week for the Saints Washington game, I picked the Saints because both the Saints and Washington are, every other week teams, And so after a loss, this would be Washington's week, right? And look, both these defenses, Washington, I don't know what happened, complete 180 for their defense from 2020, 2021. Like, this is not what we saw last year, and they're getting carved up. Chiefs are getting carved up. Common sense would say to take the Chiefs because they have the more potent offense. But if we're going to see the good Washington team and Washington is at home, there's upsets in the NFL, and as somebody who is down in Pigskin Pick 'em and trying to pick the upsets of the week, I think this has a real good possibility of being upset of the week. So I'm going to take the Washington football team on Pigskin Pick 'em. The Chiefs may win this game, and I wouldn't be surprised if they did. But I do love the plus 6.5 for the Washington football team. I think it's going to be close in the end.
All right, so Zach and I are taking the Chiefs, and Jeff is kind of half. He's taking Washington in the pick'em, and he's taking the Chiefs in his mind.
Kind of, yeah.
A fair assessment.
yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
All right. this next game, I don't even want to pick this next game. It pisses me off. The Vikings at the Panthers. I don't want to make a pick. Darnold threw 3 interceptions to the Eagles. I guess the guy's still young, no matter what he's been through. And you need to scratch his experience in New York off. Like he didn't learn anything. Like he went to a really horrible school, and he finally has transferred to a better school, and you can't hold that against him. Vikings eked one out. And hopefully the Vikings said their bedtime prayers last night after the game. They shouldn't have won that game. Both these teams right now are making me skittish. I don't know. I like the Vikings, but barely on the road. And every time I pick them, they prove me wrong. I'm gonna take the Panthers, but the Vikings are probably gonna burn me again.
I don't think so. I mean, Christian McCaffrey should be coming back, so that's definitely going to help this Carolina Panthers offense out. Sam Darnold, the last 2 games he's thrown a total of 5 interceptions, but that was against Dallas and Philadelphia, both of whom have really. It's kind of weird saying this, that Dallas has a really good passing defense, but they do. They're leading the league in interceptions right now, averaging 2 interceptions a game. Yeah, I don't think Minnesota's defense is going to be able to really put the pressure on Darnold and force him to make the mistakes that he's made the last 2 games. And then having CMC back, I definitely think that's going to help. So I don't see Minnesota being able to squeak one out against the Carolina Panthers. So I'm going Panthers.
Yeah, I think CMC is probably going to be back this week. He was pretty close to coming back this past week. I think letting him rest probably the right move. But it sure seems like he's going to be back against the Vikings here, and it's going to change the offense. They this offense last year struggled without McCaffrey. It's in 5 or 6 quarters without McCaffrey. It's not looked great. So I think adding McCaffrey back in fixes everything on offense. And I think this defense, the Panthers defense stepped up and had a big game against the Eagles. They played well. The offense just couldn't put it together and do their part. But I think they'll be able to against the Vikings. The Vikings defense isn't spectacular by any means. I think it'll be, pretty good game offensively. The Vikings aren't playing terribly offensively. They just have to, sustain drives, put it in the end zone, same kind of stuff we've been talking about with the Colts. But I do think that the Panthers win a home game this week.
Okay. We are all 3 in agreement. The Panthers should handle the Vikings. Next game up is Chargers at the Ravens. Is this the game of the week?
It's got to be.
The Chargers are hot.
Yeah, they are.
They are real hot. And unfortunately, as we're recording this show, we still don't know how the Ravens are going to handle the Colts as we're recording early Monday afternoon before Monday Night Football. But the Chargers beat a really good Cleveland Browns team yesterday in Los Angeles. This game could go either way, especially with the Chargers being on the road, being in Baltimore. But damn, the Chargers are hot. I know I already said that, but I'm taking the Bolts.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It's kind of a toss-up game because the Ravens are at home, and like you said, we don't know how they play against the Colts on Monday Night Football. But the Ravens have been looking good. They're still dealing with injuries, but man, the Chargers and Justin Herbert are just looking phenomenal right now. I would probably say at this point in the season, Justin Herbert's number 2 for the MVP. I won't even tell Hefe who would be number 1. I'll let his mind wander, and if he wants to ask, I'll tell him. But Justin Herbert's top 3 MVP race right now. He's playing well. The Chargers are playing well. Their defense is kind of stepping up. But yeah, I like the Chargers here against the Ravens.
It's funny you bring up Justin Herbert being up there for MVP because I was going to say the same thing, but I think he's number 3. Even after the week that was, the Cardinals are still undefeated, so K1 has got to be number 1 still. But I think Josh Allen has cemented himself as number 2. But it's going to be a tight race. These 3 quarterbacks are balling out.
I wasn't talking about either one of them, Hefe.
Really?
Ooh.
Oh, you're thinking what? Tom Brady?
Tom Brady has almost 200 more passing yards than Justin Herbert, has 2 more touchdowns and 1 less interception.
Okay, okay. I mean, I'd like to know how many more pass attempts he's had this season.
He has had 18 more pass attempts.
Not terrible. 18 more pass attempts. They probably have like the exact same stats. So okay, fair.
He's averaging 0.3 more yards per pass.
Yeah, basically
The
the
age of
same.
60.
At the age of 60.
But this game here with the Chargers and the Ravens, this is going to be a great game. It's not. It's certainly one of the games of the week. Not my game of the week, but nonetheless, going to be a wonderful game to watch. I'm really excited for this one, and I think that it's just hard to go against what we've seen from the Chargers the last few weeks. They're so good offensively. Defensively, obviously, this last game they had a bunch of points hung on them. Neither defense in that game could really stop each other, the other offense. But coming in this game, Justin Herbert and this entire offense seem matchup proof, right? Like even against this tough Baltimore defense, they just shredded Cleveland's tough defense. So. I just can't go against the Chargers and Justin Herbert right now.
Yeah, we're all three in agreement there. No offense to Baltimore fans, but we're all three taking the Chargers, and you probably should too. And I think speaking of, you have a different game of the week. Is it this next one? Is it the Cardinals and the Browns?
It is this game.
Yeah, the Cardinals are 5-0. You can't deny that. 5-0 for the first time since 1974 when they were in St. Louis. I know Cardinals fans are excited. I don't want to kick the stool completely out from underneath them, but I don't expect this to last. They're not the Cardinals. All right. First of all, they're better than I gave them credit for. I'm man enough to admit that. But this isn't going to run 17-0. And so what I think we're seeing is that the Cardinals are good and they're peaking early. So at some point, an unexpected loss is going to happen. They're in Cleveland against the Browns. And I heard something about Murray's got a sore shoulder. Anybody else heard that?
I hadn't heard anything about that, but it's happened in the past. That doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. Cleveland had over 500 yards offense yesterday against the Chargers on the road. They gave them everything they had on the road, and the Chargers are flipping hot. And like I said, this one's in Cleveland. I think after this week, there might not be any undefeated teams left in the NFL. I'm taking the Browns.
Yeah, so I was going to build it up, make it real nice, and then come in and just completely slay it. But you pretty much just said everything that I was going to say. The Browns, hard-fought game against the Chargers, neck and neck. They ended up having over 500 yards total offense. The Browns defense is pretty solid themselves. I do like the Cardinals the way they're playing. They're 5-0, but like you said, they are going into Cleveland, and the Dog Pound are going to be fired up because they're getting ready to take on an undefeated team. And this it's going to be an awesome game. I would say it's definitely the co game of the week. So I'm also taking the Browns at home over the Arizona Cardinals.
How about that? Everybody taking the Brownies over the undefeated team. All right. 2018, that was not the case. So, this game, like I said, I do think this is going to be the game of the week. I think it's going to be a really exciting game. Is it going to be what we saw from the Browns-Chargers last week? Probably not, in my opinion. But, maybe. I think there's that potential. Both these offenses are really good. The Browns – their rushing game is just so ridiculous. Nick Chubb went off yesterday. He leads all running backs in week 5 with yardage this week. You add Kareem Hunt in there, especially in the pass game. It's so hard to stop this offense. And watching that game, all those points were scored. We were barely hearing Odell Beckham Jr.'s name in there. So, people talk about, oh, can Baker and OBJ, put it together and finally get in sync? Like, I don't think he has to. I think Kevin Stefanski's offense, doesn't really work where you need that star power. It just freaking works. And so I think in this one, I think Stefanski is a better coach than Cliff Kingsbury. And I think that, the talent on both sides of the ball for both these teams is pretty evenly matched for the most part. So this one, I'm going with the home team. If Arizona was at home, I might pick them, but I think the Brownies can do it.
All right. Cleveland fans, take note. All three of us are taking the upset, picking the Browns over the Cardinals this week. And looking forward to either way being a really, really good game. So
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Next up, this one's painful. The Raiders at the Broncos. The Raiders are coming into Mile High to play the Broncos. And boy, the Raiders it's tale of two different personalities right now. They started out really hot. They're struggling. Now the stuff with Chucky, with these emails. And it's sad. It's unnecessary distraction. Dungy said last night that he knows him well enough and he believes what he had to say. Not excusing what was in the emails. First of all, it's 10 years ago. People grow up, but Tim Brown and Mike Tirico also have both come to Gruden's defense and said that they both know him extremely well, and both said they have never, ever seen anything of a hint of any type of racism to ever come out of his mouth or his actions ever. And so, he wasn't even a coach when he sent these emails. I think he was in the broadcast booth, right? When he was broadcasting during his hiatus. What I want to point out about this, I'm not defending the guy. I mean, we've all said stuff we wish we wouldn't have said, especially when we're angry. But this is just some bullshit that somebody dug up out of nowhere to break the story and make a name for themselves, which has caused unnecessary drama and pain with complete disregard for who it affects. I mean, the whole team is suffering through this and probably bringing up old stuff that those guys had gotten through. They had issues of what was going on with some certain things, and just sometimes I hate the media, man. I just don't. It just pisses me off that this is even a thing right now. And again, not to excuse his behavior, but we shouldn't even be talking about it. I don't know if it's causing any problems in the locker room with the Raiders. I mean, Gruden's he's salty, man. He's got some experience. Hopefully, he's not canceling team meetings and grinding on 24-year-old girls, and he's got control. But with that said, with what's been happening, I want to believe in the Raiders. I really do. But they had a terrible performance yesterday, and I think the Broncos are just trying to figure out what to fine tune to jump up to the next level. And I don't think there's, as of today, right now, I don't think there's any way the Raiders walk in a Mile High and beat the Broncos on Sunday.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there's too much going on with the Raiders in the news and all that, and then they just haven't really been playing well. I know they started off 3-0, but 2 of those wins were in overtime, and they dropped the last 2, so they could potentially be 1-4 right now, which is not very good. So with everything going on, I'm just not feeling it with the Raiders this week, so I'm going with Denver, especially with them being in Mile High.
Yeah, this is another one that, I really think it just came down to who's playing at home, who has that advantage. It's such a toss-up game because both these teams started the season really well. They were looking good. Last couple weeks have been a completely different team. Even with Teddy B back in the lineup, they weren't able to get it going against the Steelers until late. And look, I think the story with both these teams this season has been the fact that they start slow in games and get themselves in bad spots. And Vic Fangio even acknowledged that yesterday after the Broncos game, said that, had they started the way that they finished, they may have won that game, which is probably true. And I just think that this Broncos team, I don't know why, but I like this Broncos team better than I like this Ravens team. I trust them more. I even though I like Derek Carr, I like what he brings. I like Teddy B too, and I think he's going to be able to lead the Broncos to a home win against the Raiders in Week 6.
All right, we're all three taking the Broncos this week over the Raiders. All right, next game, Cowboys at Patriots. I don't know when the last time these words could have come out of my mouth, but the Cowboys are going to throttle the Patriots. I feel it coming. You know how I feel about Beelzebub being at home. I think Mac Jones is continuing to get better. I think as of right now, I see a future in this league for Mac Jones, and I actually think he might be what Belichick was looking for. I mean, I think if he continues to get better, Belichick will be able to build something around him. But it's not going to happen this week. The Patriots' offensive line is riddled with injuries. Mac Jones is too young. Diggs is playing like a freaking maniac with 6 interceptions in 5 games. There might be a couple more in the near future for him. I'm taking the Cowboys.
Yeah, I can't really add too much to that. The Patriots, they basically have a non-existent run game, so that leaves passing. And like I said earlier on in the show, the Cowboys have 10 interceptions in 5 games. So their offense is by points. They've scored 170 points, which is second best in the league. Patriots have only scored like 92 or something like that. So this is definitely going to be a blowout, and I'm taking the Cowboys.
Yeah, pretty much just reiterating what you guys said. There's just no way I feel like the Patriots win this game. Maybe if they control the weather up there, maybe it rains, and so the Cowboys have to work the ground game and whatnot. But Zeke has been eating. Tony Pollard, when he gets on the field and gets his opportunities, he produces. So even if they have to go to a running game, it's still going to be the Cowboys. Their defense is killing it right now. Their offense is explosive. There's a 0% chance I see New England winning this game.
So I don't know when the last time the Cowboys beat the Patriots was. I couldn't find that information. What I do know is that they never beat Tom Brady. So we're probably at least 20 years ago since that's happened. So it'd be, I don't know what that means, really. I just thought I'd share, to be honest. All right, next game. Seahawks at the Steelers. Let's bow our heads in prayer. Dear God, please let the Steelers win. Amen. I don't know that Pete Carroll is in immediate danger. We talked about this, I think, before the season. I think the ship is slowly starting to sink. I don't think Russell Wilson will be in Seattle much longer. I don't have any details behind all that, this contract and trades and all that. Something is amiss here. And what happens? Wilson gets hurt and gives Pete Carroll an excuse to lose games. I am to the point now. I hope they just start getting their brains bashed in every weekend, and this guy gets run out of town. I can't stand watching him chomp his gum anymore. And if it means I have to root for Big Ben this weekend, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I would also and we've talked about Big Ben too. And maybe you guys could speak to this a little bit. Colin Cowherd called out the Steelers, saying that they're trying to pretend that Big Ben isn't their only problem. And I'm not buying that. I'm not buying that Big Ben is the only reason the Steelers aren't winning. Anyway, I just, how I feel. I just told you. I hope the Steelers win by 50.
Yeah, to kind of touch on that real quick, I don't think Big Ben is just the issue. For the longest time, I mean, this last game is an exception because Najee Harris had 122 yards and a touchdown, but they just haven't had a run game at all. And you have to be able to establish a run to open up your passing game. Plus, they've been dealing with injuries, especially TJ Watt early on throughout the season. So I think it's just a combination of things that have been hampering the Pittsburgh Steelers. Do I think they're a really good football team? No, I think they're average at best. But as far as this game against the Seahawks, sorry, I've said multiple times throughout the course of this year already that the Seahawks are definitely overrated. I think they have begun to prove that through the first 5 games. Or 2-3. I know Russ got hurt this last game, but I don't think they were going to win that game regardless. And then, yeah, I don't think Pete Carroll will ever. I won't say ever because anybody can get fired, but I think he's established himself in Seattle long enough that they'll ride it out until they can't ride it out any longer, unfortunately. But I think Russ will definitely be out the door. It's just this team is heading in the wrong direction. And I personally won't be watching this game because I think it's probably the most boring game on the slate for this week with the Seahawks and the Steelers. But I think with the Steelers being home, Russ being out, there's no way that Geno Smith is going to be able to go into Pittsburgh and pull out a win for the Seahawks.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. Geno Smith didn't look terrible when he came into the game for us. He threw a really good touchdown pass to DK Metcalf, but obviously didn't finish the game well. And the Seahawks end up losing that. Now, there's just what have we ever seen from Geno Smith anywhere he's been, and he's had to come in and substitute as a starter. That gives you any confidence that he can come in and win games for Seahawks. I don't have any confidence. I wouldn't be surprised if they lose 6 straight games with Russell Wilson out. So you got to go, especially at home. You got to pick the Steelers in this situation.
All right, we all three agree we're taking the Steelers. I'd like on the back end of that. I'd like to say that I like Russell Wilson, and so I can't stand Pete Carroll, but I haven't been anti-Seahawks because I like Russ Wilson. I like watching him play; he's fun to watch. But Zach, to your point about any coach can be fired, and Wilson leaves, and they go into a tailspin. That won't last long, and I don't know without Russell Wilson that Pete Carroll can win like he's won, and we'll see.
Oh, absolutely not. He's, in my opinion, if Russ even stayed healthy this year, he wasn't going to be able to win like he's been winning because his team's had the wrong way.
Right. So I think, we're in agreement. We said the same thing in different language. There's something not right with the ship. It's slowly sinking. When Russ jumps and he's gone, I think it'll be the beginning of the end. Guys will want to get out, and I just don't. I don't know. Maybe Carroll's a better coach than I thought he was, and he'll be able to fix it. But we'll see. So anyway, last game for the week is the Bills at the Titans. I like Tannehill. I like what he's been able. We've been over this over and over and over and over again. I like what's going on in Tennessee, but this is no contest. This is going to be an ass kicking here, and anybody. I don't know what percentage is taking the Titans, but anybody that takes the Titans needs their head examined. This is going to be another clinic by Josh Allen.
Yeah, I agree with you, and it's good for the Colts, especially if the Colts can beat the Ravens. It's really good for them that the Titans probably won't win against the Bills. But yeah, it's Josh Allen should be able to shred the Titans apart. I believe Julio Jones will probably be back. They'll have the receivers back, but the Titans are going to be no match for the Buffalo Bills. Right now, the Buffalo Bills look like they're going to make a Super Bowl run.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. The Bills on both sides of the ball are just superior in every way. There's just no avenue. I can't say no avenue. Look, Titans are dominating every single game. They are dominating the time of possession. Like, it's not even close. And obviously, Derrick Henry being a huge part of that. But this Bills defense is really good. I think they'll be able to contain Derrick Henry to a degree. Derrick Henry's still a beast. He's still bigger than most linebackers in the NFL. I think it'll be a decent game, but overall, the Bills are just too goddamn good on both sides of the ball to allow this to be close. I mean, they just whooped the Chiefs' ass. Like, even, they're shutting teams out. They're beating very good teams. It's amazing what the Bills are doing, and I think they're going to keep it going.
I agree. And we all three agree. We're all three taking the Bills, and you should too. All right. Anything you want to say before we go?
No, don't think so.
All right. That does it for this week. We want to remind you to please be sure to show some love, like, share, and subscribe, and all that. Tell your friends and your grandmother. And also be sure to tell them that they can catch not only our weekly rundown, but also our fantasy draft, Fantasy Central show Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Mountain Standard on WUBI, Ubiquity Radio. Find out more at WUBI.live. It's never too late to also join us on the Pigskin Pick'em Challenge. Find the link pinned at the top of our Facebook and Twitter pages at Horsemen Sports, or just search for Horsemen Sports on the ESPN Pigskin Pick'em site. We announce the weekly winners each week on the show. And of course, we will all see you back here again next week for week 7. Until then, thanks for joining us. Deuces.